BORTLE here, back from the PPG Championship weekend, my goodness. And we have here a contestant that made it all the way to top 8 with, wow, Madolches. Well, I haven't seen this in a while, so please introduce yourself to the world, man.
Hey everybody, my name is Jibriel Brathwaite, and I got top 8 at the PPG with Madolche's.
Nice, nice, nice. So what deck took you out, man?
I lost to Dinosaurs. It was a really back and forth game. Dinosaurs, in my opinion, actually is the worst matchup for this deck. Game one, he won the die roll. I opened no hand trap, so he showed miscellaneous plus Oviraptor, so I just scooped immediately. Me and him played in Swiss. I actually beat him in Swiss.
But yeah, man, why Madolches, bro?
A couple weeks ago, I got top 8 again at another PPG. This is my third top this online format. I top 16 the LCS number 2. I top 16 the larger PPG weekend, and I got top 8 this time. Both two of the previous times were with Adam Emancipators, which I worked on a lot with like Justin Singh. Me and him worked on that deck a lot really early on. It's funny how much the deck has evolved since we started working on the deck. And in the last PPG, in top 8, I actually lost to a Madolche player. And I was really interested in the deck. And after our duel, he won because I didn't read any of his cards. And his board wasn't that threatening. It's just I couldn't break his board. Even with like full power Adam Emancipator, 3 Block Dragon, I just couldn't break his board. So afterwards, we talked, and I was like, could you explain this deck to me? And he showed me his deck list, and I just picked up the deck, just practicing hours and hours of this deck.
Hey, man,
So
well, practice makes perfect, and it's pretty exciting seeing players play something different than Emancipators and Eldritch, you know?
yeah. This format is we're ready for that ban list. We're ready for that Block Dragon ban. I think as soon as like Emancipators get hit and maybe Dinosaurs, I'm feeling like Miscellaneous Source could go to 1. I think this deck is by far might be top 2 decks of the format. You heard it first. Like right now, I think it's top 5.
Nice, there you go. So any shout outs before we begin, man?
Yeah, definitely. Shout out to my family, of course, for letting me play this crazy game all day. Shout out to Ryan Yu for believing in me in this deck. He won the last LCS with Sky Strikers, and he was playing Sky Strikers, and I was playing Madolches, and we were kind of like joking at each other about the decks. And I actually did really bad at the last LCS. My build was really jank for that LCS, and I was kind of discouraged on playing the deck. And he just kept on cheering me on to keep on playing the deck. He believed in my ability to top with the deck. Also, shout out to Justin Singh. He kind of was a little bit the opposite. Like he didn't really believe in the deck, but he really motivated me to like show everyone that this deck is meta potential.
Beautiful, man. So without further ado, go ahead and take it away with your deck profile.
All right, so we'll start off with the hand traps. I played 3 Ash, 2 Veiler, 3 Phantasme, 2 Nibiru, and 3 Impermanence. The Impermanence is fairly standard. If you know a little bit about like the Madolche community, a lot of the Madolche players don't believe that you are supposed to play monster hand traps in this deck because it conflicts completely with Madolche Petting Cessor, which in my opinion is probably like the second or arguably the best card in the deck. And that card requires you to have no monsters in your graveyard to resolve it. So by playing hand traps, you're basically making it, if you open a hand trap and Petting Cessor, the theory is if you have hand traps in your deck, you're just making one of your most powerful cards in your deck basically unplayable. Like it becomes the worst card in your deck if you have a monster in your graveyard before you are able to resolve its first effect, which is its effect to summon itself, which triggers a second effect that allows you to probably go like if you full combo like the traditional Madolche combo that a lot of people are doing, which for we're going to talk about that I don't do. It's probably a plus 11 off of the single card.
My goodness.
It's very powerful, but like it loses to Nibiru, and I felt that not playing hand traps and playing going second cards in the main, like Lightning Storms, Evenly Matches, Dark Rulers, that definitely wasn't the way I was trying to go, like Kaiju's, because I felt like this deck is kind of fragile in the sense that like an Impermanence is basically the worst thing for this deck because like not even Called by the Grave can try and stop it. Like Impermanence, if you don't have an extender, kind of just like halts your entire play. So like I didn't want to play the deck with a bunch of going second cards and go second with the deck, which a lot of Madolche players do. They choose to go second because of cards like Tiramisu and their board breaking capabilities. But I feel like that's an incorrect way to go with the deck because the deck is not like resilient enough to play through interruptions. And you're kind of hoping that you draw the right blowout card versus the right matchup. So like a lot of Madolche lists play 3 Lightning Storms and 3 Dark Rulers. But what if you draw Dark Ruler against Eldritch? Or what if you draw Lightning Storm against Rocks? Like it kind of conflicts. Like you can't always have that perfect.
Oh yes, most definitely. Especially when they have like their crazy negation boards,
Yeah,
negating everything.
yeah. Like it's gotten to the point where like Adamanticators are setting up 5 negates and setting an impermanence and have an Ash in hand. Like it's crazy. Like it is no way going second with this deck, at least in this format right now, that you can cover everything and still play through interruptions. So that's why I decided to like I will take that chance of like having my predecessor dead some of the time and go first and have predecessor and full combo my version of the combo and then back it up with hand traps.
And you
Yeah.
have basically the rest of the Madolche monster lineup. Is this all pretty much standard?
For the most part, it's standard. So we have 3 Angeli, which is like the OG kind of best card in the deck. A lot of people don't read its second effect, which is like the monster that it summons can't die by battle. So like a lot of people will like clear your board and then like attack into the monster, which is usually Hoot Cake, and you'll be like, okay, that's fine. It can't die by battle. So your Hoot Cake is surviving into the next turn. And then the last part of its effect is that during the next end phase, the monster that is summoned is shuffled into the deck. So, for instance, in probably like round 5, I played against Sky Strikers, and he broke my board, and he didn't read the card, so he made a big misplay. He used Afterburner on my other monster and left the Hoot Cake, and then he basically had no monsters on the field and activated Mystic Mine. So then I said, okay, fine. I draw for turn. I set some cards face down, and I go end phase. Hoot Cake shuffles itself back into the deck, and the Mystic Mine dies.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so he was like, hey, Hoot Cake can't use this effect. I was like, no, well, that's a lingering effect from Angeli. She shuffles the monster back next turn. So basically, it left him in a situation where, like, he, like, deliberately got rid of his own monsters and, like, went neg just to stall me out with Mystic Mine, but it didn't work because he didn't read my card. 3 Magellin. So Messengelato is kind of the one of the best and worst cards in the deck at the same time. It really needs Hoot Cake in order to thrive. Usually your worst hands are when Messengelato is the only monster in your hand. What it does is if you control a beast type Madolche, when it's special summoned, it searches a Madolche spell or trap. That's not once per turn. So it's probably like your main and it's kind of like the card that is really the engine requirement in the sense that you have to play it. Like you can't play Madolches without playing Messengelato, and you can't play one Messengelato like the theory with Brilliant Fusion and Garnet, because like if you draw the Messengelato, it really hinders your play. Then 3 Predecessor, I already talked about that card. It's kind of the best card in the deck next to Angeli, and then 1 Pudding Cess. So Pudding Cess is a really good card. It enables a lot of the more powerful combos by summoning it off of Predecessor and reducing its level by 1 to make it a level 4. Which your level 5 Exceeds Chocolate a la Mode really needs Pudding Cess under it as an Exceeds material to like fully unlock the card. And it's just a really good card in general to summon off of Predecessor, because a lot of the times, like you'll summon it off of Predecessor, you'll just go to battle phase because people don't like to read. And after it battles a monster, even if it loses the battle, it just pops a card on the field. Yeah, and it's during damage stuff, so like your opponent can't really chain the card that you target. It just pops a card on the field. Yeah, for the spells, 3 Called by the Grave. It's a combo deck. You have to play Called by the Grave, and even if they don't have a hand trap, it's just another defensive card. Like the way I'm really innovating in Madolche is I feel like a lot of the people that are playing the deck are playing it like super combo heavy, like they're trying to OTK, OTK, OTK. But I feel like I'd rather just go back and forth with my opponent for 3 or 4 turns and just still have that OTK potential that the deck naturally has and just outgrind my opponent. Like, I can't tell you how many times during this tournament and just like in general, like I can just outgrind Eldritch. Like, me and Eldritch could go back for 5 or 6 turns and I would just beat them in card advantage. Like, and they'll just scoop, like they don't have enough card advantage in order to deal with what I'm doing. Each of the Madolche spells, 1 Chateau, 1 Salon, 1 ticket. There is some argument for playing multiple salons because it's kind of an extender in the sense that it allows you to normal summon multiple times, and also when a Madolche card is shuffled back into the deck, it sets a Madolche spell or trap, which is really powerful. But I decided only to play one because that extra normal summon is only really good with certain cards, and if you open one, it's not really that good. Like, if you open multiple, because you search one in the combo. 3 Extravagance. So this deck does need its extra deck, but you have so much extra space. You could pretty much play 3 of all of the Madolche cards, except for the Link. I don't really care for the Link that much. You never really make it. And as long as you have one of each of your extra deck Madolche name, you usually could just win the game.
Did it ever conflict to where you would banish your access code talker, or it just wasn't needed because of what you just
access
said?
code talker is usually like, I don't know how to really explain it. Like, you don't need access code talker to win. Like, a lot of the times, like, this deck just puts 8,000 damage on board off of like one card, and that's like combos that the deck could do before access code talker even existed as a card. Like, Mageline puts over 8,000 damage on the board. Hoot Cake, if you have a monster in the grave to banish, puts over 8,000 damage on the board. Petting Sister puts 8,000 damage on the board, and Angeli puts 8,000 damage on the board.
Dang, that's insane. So how was this Promenade card? Because that's a new one from Eternity Code, right?
Yeah, so it's basically like an impermanent. You target a Madolche card in your you control or in your graveyard, and a card your opponent controls, and just negate your opponent's card and return the other card to your hand. So it's kind of like the perfect card that the deck really needed, in the sense that, like, it's a negation, which the deck lacked, like a going first card that is archetype, which is searchable, that is an interruption, and it's a recovery card. Because you can add back any of, like, a Hoot Cake in your grave, or like a Mageline in your grave, or like a Petting Sister in your grave, or Angelic, and you just put it back into your hand for next turn. So it recycles your resources. And then the second effect that really doesn't come up as much, but it does come up when you're trying to push to kill, is it banishes itself from the grave to attach a Madolche card from your hand, deck, or graveyard to an Xyz Madolche that you control. So it basically just attaches Pudding Set straight off the deck onto anything, and just allows you to step up into Chocolate Alum mode, which is like the traditional 8,000 damage combo. Or like sometimes, like if you have like a Tiramisu on the field that's just laying around that has no Xyz materials, you have Promenade in the grave, just banish it, and attach any card, any Madolche monster to your queen, and just like get another shuffle too. So it's just a very powerful card. It's a great addition to the deck. That and Salon, kind of, in like Eternity Code, kind of pushed the deck over the edge, in my opinion.
Nice, nice, beautiful explanation. We did already touch the extra deck, but yeah, let's just fully finish the extra deck.
Okay, so we'll go from links to Xyz. So to Sistart, in the full combo, the traditional full combo, I keep on saying the traditional full combo, and I'll get into that. You end on the Sistart. I don't end on the Sistart because going through that full combo leaves you liable to Nibiru. Like, by the time you get to like Sistart, you're way past your fifth summon. You're like on your eighth or ninth summon. And Sistar is basically a Garnet. It doesn't really do anything. It protects your face-up Madolche spell or traps, but that's not really a problem that the deck has. Like, you don't care if your Salon gets killed, or your Chateau gets killed, or your ticket gets killed, because like you can just recycle them. And like, if your opponent is like targeting those cards instead of targeting like your face-down cards, like I'd rather them pop my Chateau than pop like a set Impermanence or like a set Cyclone. Like, I don't care about that. And then its second effect is like, if it would die, it shuffles from your grave back into the deck to stop herself from dying. So if you have the field spell up, she's basically just adding Madolche monsters to your hand, which is cool, I guess. But like, it's not like warranted like that you have to go into this card. One unicorn, one phoenix. They're just generic cards. Petting Sister locks you into Madolche monsters. So like usually on your follow up, you're going into unicorn or phoenix if they're still in your extra deck, or if you didn't like you draw Strav. And one access code talker is the only link for no BORTLE sword today.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I'm sorry. We and Adamantipator's will play BORTLE sword, but not in this deck. Like this deck already does 8,000 damage. So access code talker is just like the best link for. So some cool plays that you can do is like the only time the Sistart really comes up is if you still have access code in your extra deck, because you can like on turn 3 when it comes back to your turn, you can link 2 into Sistart, then link up again into Unicorn, shuffle card, then link up again into Access Code Talker, which actually happened in my top 8 against the Dinosaurs. But I didn't use Unicorn, I used Phoenix. So basically it just makes Access Code Talker 43, and it destroys 2 cards, Earth and a Dark, or Earth and a Fire. So it just pops 2 cards. And then 3 of all of the Xyz, 3 Chocolate a la Mode. She's kind of like your big beater boss monster type card. When she has so basically what she does is once per turn, target a Madolche card in your grave, shuffle it into the deck. That's just a once per turn effect. It triggers Salon, it triggers Ticket, and if you have Chateau, it adds a monster if you so happen to target a monster to the hand. And then her bonus effect that is triggered off of like whenever any Madolche card is shuffled into the main deck or added to your hand, if she has Pudding Cess, the level 5 under her, you detach 1 to special summon a Madolche out to your deck. So like the traditional combo really abuses this card, but it has no Nibiru protection, so I wasn't like going down that route. Like you only really go into this combo when you're trying to kill your opponent. So like on turn 3, if it bounces back to my turn and I can do the 8,000 damage combo, like using leftover resources on my field from last turn to like kill them in under 5 summons, which the deck can do. Like I did that all weekend. Like knowing my opponent has Nibiru in hand, like I can kill you in under 5 summons if most of my board survives from last turn. 3 Tiramisu. This is the really scary card that people probably know from the deck. It takes 2 Madolches. You detach 1, target 2 Madolches in your grave, shuffle them into the deck, and then non-targetingly shuffle 2 cards on the field into the deck.
Yeah,
so
that's a card I remember. It's very scary.
Yeah, it's very scary, especially against like Eldritch. Like it doesn't matter if they like chain their Scarlets and stuff. Like yeah, the Scarlets will go to the grave, but anything they're summoning is getting shuffled back to the deck. Or if they don't respond, I'm just shuffling like their Eldlands back into the deck, shuffle Lord back into the deck. It's just really strong, and it helps you push through big boards or like weird cards that like can't be targeted or stuff like the BLS Link. Like it doesn't matter. Like you just clear their board. And then 3 of the best card in the deck. 3 Glass Souffle. Teacher Glass Souffle. Megaton 2020. This card better be like an ultra rare or super rare. They better bump this card and Pudding Cess. I mean, Petting Cessor. Petting Cessor is a common, and Glass Souffle is a common. They better be super rares. They deserve to be secret rares. Because these cards are, like, insane. Like, Glass Souffle takes any 2 Madolche cards, and basically what she does is you detach an Xyz material, target a Madolche monster on your field, quick effect, and it's unaffected by monster effects for the rest of the turn except its own. The basic play, the lock, quote-unquote, that the deck does is you want to summon a Hoot Cake off of Angeli, which is a part of your normal combo, and it's can't die by combat, it can't die by battle, and then on your opponent's turn, you activate Glass Souffle's effect to make it unable to die by card effects, monster effects. So it can't die by battle, and it can't die by monster effects. So basically, it's a wall, quote unquote, that is going to survive until your next turn. It's basically an unkillable Hoot Cake. So you're not going to die by battle that turn. Like against Dinosaurs, they can have 5 negates or whatever, or like 2 ultimate conductors. It doesn't matter. It's going to be a Hoot Cake on my field that is going to survive into the next turn that is going to start my plays up again. So that is like the main combo. And then Glass Souffle, the reason why this deck is so good is because of Glass Souffle's second effect. What she does is when a Madolche card is sent from the field to the graveyard, and this is triggered by a spell or trap being sent to the graveyard, a monster dying by battle, or when you detach a Madolche from under her. It still triggers. It's like BAs. Like, it still triggers if you detach and exceed material from under her. He non-targetingly shuffles 2 cards from either of our graveyards back into the deck. So against like Eldritch, this is very powerful. Against Adamanticators, this is powerful. Against Sky Strikers, this is powerful. Against Dinosaurs, this is powerful. The only time this is not good is in the mirror. Funny enough, because like if I have Chateau up, it affects both 2 of us. So both 2 of our monsters are getting boost, and if I shuffle 2, and if they like shuffle 2 cards from my graveyard and try to put it back into my deck, my Chateau's just gonna bounce them to my hand. So they just gave me a +2. And that has happened in mirror matches, like people not understanding that. Like they'll do Glass Souffle and target 2 of my monsters in the grave, and then they'll just bounce back to my hand. So the final reason why Glass Souffle is the best Madolche Xyz monster and deserves a secret rare or ultimate rare is because the interaction with Chateau. And a lot of people do not understand this interaction. And when they see me do it, like multiple people saw me do it during the tournament and were like, excuse me, I don't, Judge, could you do that? So if you have hand traps in your graveyard and you activate Glass Souffle's second effect, she targets 2 cards in your graveyard, shuffle them back to the deck. If you have Chateau up, Chateau says any monster that would be shuffled into the deck by a Madolche monster's effect is added to your hand instead.
Oh my goodness.
So if I have Chateau up, Glass Souffle effect, detach 1, target Nibiru and Ash. They're like, okay, add Nibiru and Ash to my hand. Add Phantasme and Veiler to my hand. Add double Veiler to my hand. It's insane.
I'm definitely on the train that it needs to get a rarity upgrade. That's really nice.
And then the last card is Exciton Knight. Never really came up. I had like 1 extra slot and I didn't know what to put in. And in some weird hands you can summon it. Like if you open up Magdalene plus Salon, you can normal summon Magdalene, use her effect, add another Magdalene, then because she can add any Madolche, even like herself, and then you activate Salon and you summon another Magdalene, add another card because she's not once per turn, and just overlay into Exciton, like going second and just blow up their board. Like that's a play that can happen, like in theoretically, but it never came up. It was just a flex spot.
Oh yeah, most definitely. I think it's utilized more against like back row decks, if anything.
Yeah.
Sweet, that's nice extra deck overall. And this side deck, which is pretty nice overall, kind of standard. But yeah, if you like to introduce side deck.
Yeah. So real quick, because I'm kind of rambling on. So 3DD Chrome is really good. Before I had in a Token Collector, but I cut that card really quickly, because it's only really good against Synchro Eldritch or Eldritch in general, which is this deck's best matchup is Eldritch. So I didn't want to prepare more for my best matchup. I wanted to prepare more for my worst matchup, which is Dinosaurs. So DD Crow is really good for hitting the miscellaneous source out their graveyard. 1 Pancratrops is just like the best going second card next to Red Reboot, which I also play. 2 Lightning Storms. I'm not really a fan of this card in general because like even against the decks it's supposed to be really good against, like the only 2 decks that this card is like insane against are like Altergeist and Guru, and those cards are not very highly represented in this format. I think this card is terrible really against Eldritch because like all of their cards like it's basically a -1 against Eldritch because like all the Eldritch spells and traps that you destroy, they just like float during the end phase. 3 Mystic Mine. I only really cited it in a couple of times, but it's just a really good card. I figured play it now while we still have it in this deck because like sometimes this deck just doesn't open very well and you can just bait out a couple of cards and just mine them and stall into like you draw like a 1 card OTK, which the deck plays a lot of. 2 Evenly Matched is just a really good going second card. Really good against Eldritch. You just banish all their resources. And then 3, Solemn Judgment. Solemn Judgment is basically the card that you side in going first, like as an extra card to deal with like cards like Red Reboot and side out the appropriate hand traps that aren't good in that matchup. And then you side in something that I do is I side in Red Solemn Judgment going second against trap decks, because like trap decks aren't going to kill you in like one turn. So you side in Solemn Judgment going second against trap decks going first and second against trap decks, because like usually it's going to be a grind game going for multiple turns. So like if you draw a Solemn Judgment as your sixth card, it's all right. You could just set it because you're not going to die the following turn, and it's just going to be a grind game. So yeah, that's the deck pretty much.
Very nice, very nice, and love the explanation, and everything. Madolche is definitely not a sleeper, guys. So y'all need to study this deck, study this video. My goodness. Any final thoughts, bro?
Yeah, definitely buy your Angelis now. This card is this card is broken.
Oh my
Yeah,
goodness. Yo, Konami, reprint this card ASAP.
he has like $40.
Oh man. Well, yeah. Thank you again for joining me on this channel, man.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I really appreciate it. Love the channel. Sub for BORTLE.
Oh God, yes. With that note, everyone that's listening, join Bortle Nation by subbing for Bortle. That's right, sub for Bortle, guys. It's that easy and it's free. Oh God, yes. Until next time, Bortle out.